Today I'm going to share with you guys the personal journey I went through from pre-therapy to post-therapy and everything I've learned since. That's coming up. What's up guys, Joel here. Please let me first start off by saying that this video would not have been made had it not been for the amazing love and support I got from you guys after my recent video, Anxiety to or No. I'd also like to get a little disclaimer out of the way first that this personal journey only reflects my own experiences, opinions and views obviously, and it's understandable if you guys see things a little differently. That's completely fine. I'd even encourage you to, at the end of this video, voice your own opinions and views down in the comment section below, because I'm not only making this video as a therapeutic tool for myself, but to share an experience that may hopefully help guide someone else who feels they're going through something similar to take that brave first step towards acceptance and reaching out for help. If you're having any doubts, if you're clouded with countless reasons why you think you can't find help, you don't need help, or maybe you don't deserve it, believe me when I say you're not alone. I'm a very particular person. I'm indecisive, I have OCD and perfectionist tendencies. I'm terribly introverted, and these are all big stress inducers in my life, and if they go unchecked, they can overwhelm me quite easily. Another quality that went unchecked for the better part of my adolescence to adult years was my negative thinking patterns, commonly referred to as cognitive distortions. A term that means that the way that you're thinking doesn't necessarily match up with the reality of what's going on, in turn greatly affecting your feelings and behaviors in a very negative way. I'm not broken enough to need help. There are others out there a lot worse than me. No one knows me better than I know myself. I can do this myself. I don't need help. That's just scratching the surface of the thoughts that would plague me every day until I would curl up into the fetal position on my couch and just cry. Good days weren't a thing anymore. I had bad days and I had worse days. It's always been hard for me to take advice from people, and it seemed no one was saying anything that stuck until it did. A close friend helped me realize that going to therapy wasn't a weakness, and that therapy isn't about how much the therapist knows about you as a person, but rather helps evaluate your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors and the underlying negative patterns and how you can manage them, challenge them, and then ultimately overcome them. With a little help from that friend, I was able to find a therapist who specialized in cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, which broken down in its simplest form is a negative thought that induces a negative feeling and affects your behavior in a negative way. If you see a therapist who specializes in CBT, they can help you recognize these negative thought patterns and eventually replace them with more balanced thoughts, because that's what we need, balance. We can never completely erase the negative from our lives, and trying to do so is going to be very frustrating and a bit counterproductive. Rather, we can learn to let these thoughts pass and move on to something a bit more productive and positive. I learned that negative thinking is such a strong habit, it almost seems subconscious and normal to those who practice it, like myself. You need to remain focused in your approach to challenging these thoughts, because it's just too easy to fall back into it when it feels normal to you. The thing I struggle with the most, I feel, is confusion and uncertainty. And before I knew how much my negative thought patterns could affect me in such a dramatic way, I didn't know what the trigger was. How could I feel this bad all the time and not have any clue on what it is that's bringing me down? And in the end, it was me. I gotta tell you, in my first session, when I comprehended that thought, I kind of felt a rush of relief because I finally knew what it was. I had finally found the trigger, and I understood that that was the first step in repairing my mental health. I attended 6 sessions with my therapist, all based around these 10 cognitive distortions I'm about to share with you. Once I understood them, I was finally able to recognize the similar patterns within myself, and my recovery began. So here we go. Number 1, mental filter. You may have heard of the term tunnel vision before. Mental filtering is when we focus exclusively on the more negative and upsetting features in a situation, filtering out all the more positive aspects. A good example would be the comment section of YouTube. For the most part, my comments are usually pretty positive and supportive, thank you guys. But every now and again, I'll get a more ignorant and hateful comment, and if I'm just having a bad day, it can really get to me. Number 2, disqualifying the positive. This is when we dismiss the positive experiences we encounter by deciding they're not important or they don't count. For example, a friend might compliment you on your work, but you think they're just saying it because you're their friend and they're trying to be nice. Number 3, all or nothing. This is when we see everything as black and white, using words like never, always, or every, right, wrong, good, bad, failure, success. There's no middle ground, no gray areas, in which life has many. A good example would be you may get a 70% on your test and you see that as a failure to get a perfect score. This is a real seeing the glass half empty situation. Number 4, overgeneralization. This is when we see a single undesirable event as being the be-all and end-all for that situation. Failing one test and thinking that we can't pass another. Having an unsuccessful job interview and thinking you'll never find a new job. The spiral downwards is astonishing. Number 5, jumping to conclusions. Pretty self-explanatory, we've all been here. This is when we make a negative interpretation or prediction, even though there's no evidence to support the conclusion. Ladies. When I was in CBT, it was referred to as mind reading or fortune telling, which I like a bit more. We don't know what people think about us, and we don't know what's gonna happen. So stop forfeiting your energy to that. Number 6, catastrophization. Microsoft Office says that's not a word, but that's what it's called. This is when we exaggerate the negative events and downplay the positive. We may often see others as being above us and see ourselves as being beneath everyone else. Comparisons are often toxic. And number 7, personalization. Assuming responsibility and blame for events that are out of your control. I used to work a retail job and get frustrated when customers would attack me about our return policy, like I wrote it. I actually envy people who are able to make that disconnect and stay calm in those situations. It's not about you, it's just a situation. Number 8, shoulding. Again, not a real word, but we used it in CBT. I kind of like it. I create YouTube content, so I should be doing it all the time. I should only be creating great quality content, and I should be happy to do it because it's what I want to do. You can feel the pressure just saying the words. Oh God. This produces guilt, frustration, disappointment, resentment, all the good ones. It also creates unrealistic expectations. Not very healthy. Coming up on number 9, emotional reasoning. I feel it, therefore it must be true. Self-fulfilling prophecies of people who feel alone and believe and actually tell other people that they're never gonna find someone else. Just because you feel like something bad might happen doesn't mean it's actually going to happen. This is also classic fortune telling or jumping to conclusions. A lot of these behaviors and thought patterns are somewhat linked to others previously mentioned. You may have caught on to that. And finally, number 10, labeling. This is an extreme form of the all or nothing thinking we spoke about, where rather than logically describing a behavior or action, we will assign a very negative and highly emotive label to ourselves or others that leaves no room for change. This can be evident when we make mistakes. Instead of just admitting that we made a mistake and correcting it, we may label ourselves as stupid and never actually attempt to do that thing again. When I started CBT, I was able to relate to every single one of those thought patterns. And to be honest, it was just a relief, as I said before, to finally realize why I'd been feeling the way I had for so long. A little disturbing to find out that I was doing it to myself, but the positive side was that now I was in charge. I finally had the means to change. The moment you acknowledge these patterns and behaviors, you can challenge them. It is going to start slow, so don't be so hard on yourself. During this transition though, it is recommended that you experiment with different techniques to keep yourself calm and centered. A few things that work for me include deep breathing and meditation. The Headspace app is amazing for that. I do recommend that. Physical exercise is usually a great outlet for me as well to kind of get rid of excess energy and frustrations. Keeping an eye on my diet can help as well. When I'm eating unhealthy for a couple of days in a row, it can bring me down a bit faster. I like to create small, realistic goals for myself as rewards throughout the day, so I feel like I'm accomplishing things. And sometimes I'll just look up inspirational videos on YouTube, and it really can help. Just don't stop taking care of yourself. If things make you feel good, keep doing them. Maintain your happiness and well-being and never think that it's over. I believe the pursuit of happiness is happening in our minds. You are the master of your own happiness. You control what affects you and to what level. And even if you reach great happiness today, just remember that it's not promised tomorrow. That's not a sign of negativity, that's acceptance. One day at a time, as they say. Try not to indulge yourself in unhealthy ways. Comfort eating, retail therapy, these are very short-term fixes and often come with the bad aftertaste of buyer's remorse and indigestion. Now, I'm not a religious person, but the Serenity Prayer is actually a great reference point I use in my day-to-day. Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. There are also many different versions that say things like living one day at a time, enjoying one moment at a time, and accepting hardship as a pathway to peace. There is always a choice, there is always support, and there is always a way. And it's only through failure that we can find success. I'll leave you with this. The most successful people in this world are the ones who have failed the most. They're not afraid to put themselves in the situations where they can fail, and they learn, adapt, and succeed from there. And if there ever comes a time in your life where you feel like you can't fail, if probably not on the right path. Living in contentment of safety and familiarity will almost never bring you success. You will not see progress, you will not better yourself, and you won't fulfill that dream that you have. Take it from someone who took failure out of the equation a long time ago and feels like he's gotten nowhere. But I'm changing that now. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Never stop taking care of yourselves and each other. Until next time, guys.